It's the fifth day since Israel has carried out its attack in Iran that many thought would not happen.
Mhm.
Joining me today is Minister of Diaspora Affairs Amichai Chikli to talk about what's happened with the war militarily as well as combating anti-Semitism.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Felice.
There are countries that are grateful publicly that Israel has gone in and is attacking Iran, aiming to dismantle its nuclear enrichment program.
Mhm.
There are many that are saying it quietly, and then there are many that oppose it. What are you seeing? What is the message right now?
First and foremost, when we are speaking about the Iranian regime currently, we need to understand that this is not a separate war from what we saw on October 7 or the war against Hezbollah. Since 1979, the ideology of the Iranian regime was what they call in Persian Sudud al-Inkilab, which is to spread the revolution. They have created through Syria and Lebanon and Gaza, Judea and Samaria, Yemen, all net of terror. And this net has impact not just on the Middle East, but also worldwide. We all recall the terror attacks, the horrific terror attacks on the AMIA community, Jewish community building in Buenos Aires, the attack against the embassy, the deadly attack against US forces in Lebanon, led by Imad Murnia, commander of Hezbollah, against French troops, killing hundreds of them. And obviously, straight at the beginning, kidnapping the embassy staff of the US. In every single parade of supporting the regime, they are chanting El Maut li America, El Maut li Israel, death to America, death to Israel, death to Israel. That is their motto, that America is the great Satan, Israel is the small Satan. And that ideology of creating this world which is dominated by radical Islam, that's their vision. It is a very, very dangerous vision, first and foremost for the people of Iran, for not wearing a burqa. We all recall Masha Amini, who was tortured and killed, like many other Iranian women, not to mention gays that are being hanged on cranes in the middle of the city. So this is a war which is, it's not about just nuclear capabilities, yes or no. This is a moral war against a terror, fanatic, dictatorship regime, evil regime, against Western civilization. It is death against life, it is freedom against despotism. That is the nature of this war. This is before we go into the tactical details.
Do you think that message is honed? Because most people look at it as Israel fighting a battle for its life, and they're not thinking about their own neighborhood.
This is a battle for the life of the Iranian people. This is a battle for the life of the people in Yemen. This is the battle for the life of people in Lebanon. This is the battle for life of many others in Europe and in the US, because this regime has no end to its ambition. It seeks worldwide domination.
Israel is attacking in Iran in a very sophisticated manner, trying to avoid civilians. One does not see the same in Israel, where civilians are being targeted, residential buildings are targeted.
Yeah.
What again, let's look at the message
Sure.
that's being honed during the war right now. What is going out?
So the Iranian regime, they were firing ballistic missiles. It's not for the first time. We saw it already in October and before in April, hundreds of ballistic missiles carrying warheads of between 300 to 600 kilos. These are massive missiles aimed directly at the heart of our city centers, at the center of Israel, in northern part of Israel. We've lost 22 innocent civilians during these horrific attacks. And yes, just like as you mentioned, unlike the Iranian regime, the state of Israel is very, very precise with its strikes, aiming top military officials, military assets, missiles. And we don't see the Iranian people as our enemy. On the contrary, we wish to see the Iranian people take their country back.
Have you seen the Iranian regime ask Israelis to leave their homes because they're going to attack the state of Israel?
Quite the opposite.
You went to see the damage that was inflicted. You've been around the country.
Yeah.
What can you share?
Yes, I've been to Rehovot, Bnei Brak, Tamra, an Arab village up north where 4 family members were murdered. As mentioned, these are heavy missiles. This is nothing like the missiles we're seeing from Hezbollah, which are also meaningful and they can easily kill. But in this case, when these kind of missiles hits, even if they hit directly a shelter, it's you can't survive the hit. So we had a tragedy yesterday in Petah Tikva where a missile hit directly a shelter. We call it mamad, like the fortified room within the apartment, and unfortunately the people were killed. The right thing to do is still to remain in these shelters. That's the best protection we have. But just to let you understand that these missiles are super heavy and they create a lot of damage.
There's a lot of misinformation that's coming out, even from media outlets. One media outlet had stated that the government of Chile was against what was happening in terms of Israel attacking right now in Iran. The Chilean government came back and they said that was not what they said. And they lowered the bar in what they had said. As a matter of fact, they came back and they said at first that it was a preemptive strike, and a day later they lowered that bar as well. This war of words is equally as powerful often as the war on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. The war on public opinion is crucial. Obviously, a tiny state like Israel, a tiny nation like the Jewish nation, it's a very heavy battle. But I think that uh, we're not fighting just for the Jewish people. I think we are fighting for Western civilization. I think that what we are witnessing right now is the clash of civilization that Huntington wrote about it during the 90s. And it's quite surprising that there are people in the West who think that maybe we should fight this war alone. But if we need to fight this war alone, we will fight this war alone. Because for us, it is also the battle for the future of children and grandchildren, and we want to secure their future. And I think that by doing so, we are also doing a great service to the entire Western civilization.
If Israel doesn't get the bunker bombs, do you feel that Israel can still neutralize the entire nuclear uranium enrichment program in Iran?
So obviously there are different sides with different characters, and Natanz was heavily hit, but there's still the Pordo, which is in a fortified, deep underground mountain zone, much more a difficult mission. But as we saw in other cases, when we had to deal with fortified military bases, like in Masayef in Syria, there's a variety of options, not just using Air Force. And I'm sure that we can handle this challenge um, and we can finish the job.
How do you monitor misinformation and fix the damage?
So the amount of misinformation is endless, misinformation. I think that the most important thing is for people to be aware of the fact that we are living in an era that you have AI generators that can create pictures that never existed, messages that never existed. I saw interviews with super influential people who they are faking their voice. So it's quite amazing to see what can be done with AI capabilities in terms of fake news. But it is up for citizens um, to check and check again and check again every piece of information to have, let, let's say, the best understanding of the real reality on the ground.
Minister, you addressed the Iranian people directly on X.
Sure, many times.
Yes. And what's crucial is that you had said to them that they should finish the job.
Yeah.
They should take their country back.
Absolutely. I think that we need to take learn the lessons from the previous war in the Middle East. Obviously, there will be no Israeli boots on the ground trying to force regime change in Iran. I think it will also be a very bad idea to have American tanks driving in the city center of Tehran, like we saw in Baghdad in the past. The only relevant force to take power and to remove the current regime in Iran is the Iranian people, Iranian opposition. It is their war to take back their country. We know, based on polls and many other indicators, that the support for this regime is very, very low. It is unpopular regime. You saw there was a very strange tweet by Khamenei, who is actually very active on X, more active on X than on the ground. He is really into the war of words. In the real war is not in a very good situation. But he was saying the people are with us, and it's hilarious. Why would you say that the people are with you in the middle of a war? It should be taken for granted. Obviously, they are with you, no? But it was important for him to mention the people are with us. And he was saying that because that the people are not with him. They're not with him. And so it is up. It's time for the Iranian people to take action. No one else would do it. No one else. We can hit Revolutionary Guards, top officials, infrastructures. We can do this kind of stuff. But that's it.
There's a blackout of information in Iran, and Israel just took out their state broadcasting network. Does that send a message to the people of Iran?
Yeah, I think it is a very good message that the propaganda of this dictatorship is fake, and we saw it live with this Iranian TV personnel shouting all this propaganda and suffering some noise in the background. I think also that the decision of Elon Musk to provide the cover of Starlink is very important when we're speaking about the creating an alternative ways of communication and spreading information. And I think that the test will be not now, as bombing are still going on, and we don't expect people to go on the streets doing the attacks themselves. We want the people of Iran to be safe. But the moment this will over, it will be the moment of test for the Iranian opposition. Now or never.
Anti-Semitism is at an all-time high. And I want to talk to you about the fallout, discuss that for a moment. The Israel Aerospace Industries was supposed to attend the Paris Air Show.
Yeah.
It's done so for many years. They woke up to find a big black wall around their space.
Yeah.
It takes us back to the times of the Holocaust, of segregating Jews. What do you say to that?
I wouldn't rush to go to the Holocaust, but it is a very hostile environment that we are seeing straight from Emmanuel Macron, who, like Sanchez, like the Irish Prime Minister, Chile government, these are the most hostile governments against Israel in the West. And the idea that the lesson and the takeout of October 7th is establishing a Palestinian state, awarding Yahya Sinwar, awarding Hamas, awarding these barbaric terrorists, that is, I think, morally very, very wrong. Absolutely not friendly towards Israel. It's not even, it doesn't make any sense in terms of combating terror, promoting the values of Western civilization, and therefore this is extremely disappointing. But to be very honest, I have zero expectations from Emmanuel Macron, which I think is to call him a leader would be an insult for the term leader, for the letters. So therefore, I think that we see in France other forces much more serious, much more aware of the danger coming out of the Muslim Brotherhood. Um, I need to say that when it comes to Iran, he did said some positive messages, but when you take the actions and blocking Elbit place in this
Air show.
in the show. So I think it's so the words doesn't matter if your actions are not aligned with the words. So therefore, I think that there are much more serious forces. We're seeing speeches coming from Jordan Bardella at the European Parliament, speaking in a very clear way against the Muslim Brotherhood. Rima Hassan, he called her the ambassador of Hamas for the European Parliament, against Iran, against the idea of establishing a Palestinian state as a result of October 7th. So I think that these kind of leaders, and also in Spain, we have Vox and we have Isabel Ayuso, the mayor of Madrid, and we have. I'm not pessimistic about Europe. I think there's still a future for some of the states, and other states they are in a very poor situation, such as Belgium, Britain. That's a whole different story.
You have a very sophisticated setup right here at the ministry to monitor anti-Semitism. Can you describe what that looks like?
So these are basically two very powerful technological capabilities. One is screening the internet, Telegram, WhatsApp open groups, Meta, Twitter, etc., and looking for messages that might relate to attacking Jewish communities, Israelis, etc. We saw it on Amsterdam when hours before the assault against Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, we saw a message on a Telegram group calling for violence against Maccabi fans, saying that if you're under 18, don't show up. If you have visa issues, don't show up. So that is one system, and the second system is basically categorizing all the information, creating a desktop that would allow you to understand the reality, because this is a massive amount of information, and it summarize it so that you can work with this information and not just get lost with.
If you're looking at social media, and it is vast, and there are so many channels, is there one channel that you feel is the worst offender?
Oh, that's very easy. Obviously, it's TikTok. Uh, Obviously, TikTok is biased, and the algorithm push forwards the anti-Israeli narrative, pro-Palestinian narrative, anti-Western narrative, and it's not a surprise that some states prohibited the TikTok because it is a very problematic network.
You brought up the Maccabiah Games, and unfortunately, the Maccabiah Games have now canceled. It's one of the largest events, the second largest sporting event in the world. It's the other side of Israel's image, the powerful, strong, sports-oriented
We can
event.
do better in sport, I think.
But you're right, but it also is connected to the diaspora, which
Sure.
is something that falls under your ministry. Is that a big blow?
Look, that's the reality of war. We obviously would like to have the Maccabiah, but we have a different mission at the moment.
There are some journalists that are members of the foreign press that are standing in position as rockets are falling, ballistic missiles are falling. They're showing the positioning of that live on air. Is this creating very big problems, specifically when it comes to the security?
Yeah, sure. So we saw it first and foremost with Al Jazeera standing on a hill up near Haifa, looking at a very strategic zone with the industries. And these people, as far as I know, they were arrested, warned regarding doing so again. And there were also other reporters who took straight after the attack pictures from the sites where the missiles hit, and that was also very bad. Um, the message was sent to these people that this is wrong and they should not do it again.
What kind of communication do you have directly with the close to 9,500 Jews that are living in Iran? And their safety at the moment is at stake.
We have almost zero connection with the Iranian Jewish community because it is prohibited for them to create connection with Israeli government. So it is a very sensitive issue, and the only connection can be in a very long way. And so the connection with the Iranian Jewish community is almost zero.
There were close to 100,000 Israelis that are stuck, that cannot get back into
Mhm.
Israel during the war.
Mhm.
Some are in countries that are friends of Israel, and they're seeing pro-Palestinian marches and movements around them. They're afraid to move from their hotels. How do you deal with this?
Yeah, first, it's an extremely inconvenient situation. And at the moment, the decision led by the Ministry of Security Affairs is to not allow flights to go in and out, to be at, let's say, it is the safest situation that we can be in order to prevent a disaster. We are under an attack constantly every few hours by the Iranians, and I totally understand the decision to be very, very, let's say, protective and trying to minimize the